very glad to be here in person today. And what I would like to do is I would like to share a little bit a story about what can be done from our perspective to scale innovation around green tech in Europe to really create a set of companies that can actually be game changers also on a global scale. And I'm talking to you as a co-founder of the European Center for Digital Competitiveness, which we founded as a think tank at ESCP Business School in Berlin 2.5 years ago now. And one of our focus areas is green tech. And today I want to talk to you about how you can actually scale the green tech ecosystem in Europe and what crucial role we believe the university ecosystem can play in this. So yesterday we heard from Klaus Hommels also that we cannot miss this green tech opportunity in Europe again. And I agree. When you look at the data, a couple of weeks ago, Bill Gates actually came forward and said that there's tremendous opportunity around green tech, around climate tech. And he said that climate tech alone will produce 8 to 10 Teslas, a Microsoft, a Google, and an Amazon. So there's tremendous opportunity in this space. From a European perspective, the question is, what can we do to make sure that 5 to 6 of these companies are built in Europe? And I think the university ecosystem plays a crucial part in answering this question, and this is what I would like to talk to you about. So when you look at innovation, and especially around very, very big companies in the past, you see that the university ecosystem has played a crucial part in this. And I'm not talking about the university per se, but I'm talking about the university ecosystem. So it may be less about teaching people to become an entrepreneur, but rather about providing opportunity in this ecosystem. We look at some examples. I mean, quite famously, I think Facebook and Microsoft have been founded in Harvard as part of the so-called reading period, so time in which students actually had time off to think, to create stuff, to try out new ideas. And also when you look at Stanford, Google, Snapchat have originated out of the Stanford ecosystem, but also when you leave the tech world, Yale, for example, also created many new companies like Time and FedEx. And this is not only true for the United States, this is also true for Europe. Some very surprising numbers I found recently is that 70 of the 117 unicorn founders are from the same 10 universities in Europe. So the question is, how can you actually leverage this ecosystem and how can you transform it into the green tech revolution? And I believe for the green tech revolution, we need a different kind of ecosystem, and we need to largely rethink the university ecosystems that we already have. Because what we do have in Europe is tremendous universities, both in the area of business, and in the area of technology. So we have ETH, we have TU in Munich, so many great research-oriented, very scientific organizations that are world-leading. And we also have world-leading business schools on the other hand, like London Business School or Bocconi or the University of St. Gallen. But what we fail to do, or have failed to do in my view in the past, is combine these and break out of the silos that we have created around these ecosystems. And when you look at the definition of innovation, it's always invention plus commercialization. And I think we tend to be good in either invention or commercialization, largely also scaling existing business models in Europe. So I think we need to bridge the gap between these two ecosystems and really create a breakdown of the silos and an exchange between these two ecosystems. And for this, I believe what we could look into is more funding. Yeah? And I'm not talking about more funding like we usually hear. In late stage, we need larger capital around late stage tickets in Europe and all of that. I believe this is completely true. But I would like to go in exactly the opposite direction and suggest that we need more pre-seed money. Actually, yeah, before we actually talk about pre-seed innovations or investments. So I believe we need funding around ideation. Yeah, so we need to create room for people to actually try out things, and I think the university ecosystem could actually be quite a good room to do this. Yeah, when you think back to the Harvard reading period, this was just time in the schedule of students that they could just do whatever they want with. Yeah, and what you could also create is a space for them to try out new ideas, to create new stuff, and to work on new ideas, and potentially also like across the different silos. So I think a big question that we need to answer for ourselves is how can we actually create teams that consist of business students and technical experts? How can we sort of bring them together? How can they find each other? And how can they then have room and time and money to actually try out new stuff so that they can then build companies from there? Along the same lines, I also think we need mentorship funding. Those teams need to be supported. Yeah? That can be from existing startups, from existing organizations, but it could also be from within the university ecosystem again. And I believe one of the most successful companies in Europe that has really brought Europe together was the Erasmus program, or is the Erasmus program, where you can study a certain period of time in another country. And I think this has really brought Europe together and created so much learning around different cultures and all of that. And I think we could try to establish something similar also for green tech, in which you exchange not only across countries, but also across disciplines. So that, for example, a business student goes to a technical university for 6 months and studies there and learns about that, and vice versa. Yeah? So that you can really learn about new perspectives and get new ideas and then create companies as a result. So this is largely driven around startups, but I also believe we need to think about companies or large corporates in this. And for this, I could imagine there's something like a reverse internship program that could be established, where you actually have like more experienced executives going back to do an internship in something completely different. Could also be politicians for that matter, yeah, that just completely break out of their usual day-to-day life and go into a completely different scene to learn again, to unlearn, and to really be open and inspired by new ideas and new challenges. And the last idea that I would like to share with you is, I think in order to really be successful in creating global green tech companies from Europe, we need grit and we need ambition. Yeah? And when we compare ourselves now to US companies, I think what's fascinating is what did not happen. And this is also something that we should, remind ourselves of once in a while, that Facebook was not sold to Yahoo for $1 billion. Google was not sold to Yahoo for $3 billion, and also Netflix was not sold to Amazon after, I believe, 2 months after its founding for 15 million. So all these companies did not go for the quick exit, they did not go for the money, but they went for the vision, and the more ambitious vision of really creating a global champion in their area. So in sum, if Europe wants to establish a strong green tech ecosystem, I believe we need to think big. We need to really think about how can we create some of the big global companies out of the 10 new very, very large companies that are going to be established in this sphere. What role can the university ecosystem play in this? How can we actually bridge the gap between technical and business? And how can we ensure that we also keep the right scale and the right ambition level when we talk about green tech in Europe? So with that, I thank you very much for your attention.